Welcome to another episode of Gaikoku Gamers. I am here with my friend Sonic the Hedgehog, and he is happy because we got an XI, JVC XI, because our Sega CD broke. But that's not what this episode is about, so he's going to run away. Or flop. Anyway, so today's episode actually is about the Commodore SX-64. Let's go ahead and jump into the review. Let's go ahead and see what this portable executive model of the Commodore 64 is all about. And here is the Commodore SX-64 executive computer. This thing was apparently supposed to be portable back in the day. Obviously that's not the case. This thing is, oh my god, this thing is pretty heavy. Very heavy, in fact. I think even back then this was considered pretty heavy. I think the nickname that this thing usually has in regards to its portability is luggable. And for good reason. You have a cartridge slot up here. You also have the typical Commodore 64 slot back here. You have a couple of controller ports and stuff in the back, which I'll show you in a bit here. But first, let me show you how the keyboard works. This is actually the keyboard. And there you go. Keyboard kind of, that's not really flat, but you get the picture. Point is that this lays flat on the desk, has little rubber feet, clips right into the computer itself, and it's kind of cool like that. I actually like it. It's pre-laptop design, basically. So some things that were pretty cool about this computer: it houses the first color monitor in a portable computer ever, like, period. So, you know, if you like Apple iMacs and other all-in-one computers, you can thank the Commodore SX-64 for all of that, because it started it all. Here you have your floppy drive, and not like the little floppies, these are the big gigantic floppies. And here you have a little tray where you have games like Dragon's Lair and Pac-Man. A whole bunch of awesome games that I have here. There's another Pac-Man. Thunder Mountain made a whole bunch of Atari games, by the way, so if you're ever looking for Atari games for the Commodore, not just the Commodore SX-64, but any Commodore 64, they ported quite a few of them. There's Demon Stalkers, Victory Road from SNK. There's a whole bunch of fun games that I picked up for this thing. This computer is incredibly rare. Long story short, this computer was made, and it was actually very highly rated by everyone. Everyone thought it was an amazing computer at the time. Everybody thought it was a great deal, great value. I think it was priced at about $1,000, which really isn't bad considering the package. You get a built-in monitor, which really isn't that small when you're working on it, frankly, if it's on your desk and you're about that far away from it. And on top of that, you know, it was a really good computer for its time. Pretty fast, good amount of RAM, all that type of stuff. So, you know, you're getting a good bargain, and people were excited. However, the reason why this particular model of the Commodore 64 tanked is simply because of this little disc tray thing, which reminds me of like something like old cars used to have above the radio. You see, the machine was originally designed to have 2 floppy drives, and you're supposed to be able to toggle, you know, between the 2, or be able to read a program off one and save your program, you know, information like a Word document or game saves and that type of stuff to another. However, that wasn't the case due to the processor apparently not being fast enough or something like that in order to be able to run both floppy drives. However, what they did that was rather stupid is that Commodore 64 went ahead and posted pictures in several tech magazines at the time of the dual floppy disk model, and apparently it was actually a working prototype. And so basically no one bought this because they were waiting for the dual floppy model, which ironically enough, in a catch-22 sort of way, didn't come out because this one didn't sell well. Kind of unfortunate, but you know, right now, you know, today these things are more or less collector's items, but they still are a perfectly functional Commodore 64. One thing to note is that the keyboard is very nice. If you're more used to like 90s keyboards than 80s IBM keyboards, you'll be well at home with this keyboard. Unlike the Atari XEGS, it doesn't have nearly as much of a spongy feel to it, and I find it a lot easier to type on. However, just like the Atari XEGS, it also does not have the little nubs on the middle keys. So, you know, if you're kind of used to typing based on feel, you're not going to have any type of cue. Obviously, that came later in keyboards. So something of note. We're going to go ahead and show you this little door. This little door opens here. And on the top, you have a volume knob. Below that, you have V-hold. Or I'm sorry, that little button thing is V-hold. The next thing down is contrast. You have brightness, color, and tint. You also have a reset button here. If you're wondering what that reset button is, it is not a reset button for the computer, it is a degauss button for the screen. So it'll go and kind of get rid of any funkiness that's going on with the screen image. The keyboard is attached by this cable, which plugs in right under here, and you can obviously disconnect that, so when you're lugging this thing around on the go, you don't have to have that cable hooked up. But I'm going to leave it in there just simply because I want it attached. So once this thing is on there, to make sure that thing's on there, you'll notice if we turn this thing here to the side that the handle is also the stand for this computer. There's this little teeny nub here. I don't know if you can see it here, and there's one on the other side where when that is slid forward, the handle becomes unlocked. So this will move freely, and you can carry this, or at least pray to God you can carry this on your person as you're trying to go to a presentation or something like that at work, or whatever you would have used this for back in the day. And then, of course, when you want to have it work as a stand, you put it in this position, slide these notches back at the same time, and it'll work as a stand and it'll lock in place. So in the back, as you can see, you have your power slot for your plug to go ahead and plug into. That's any PC power plug will work. Your regular Commodore 64 cartridge slot, again, in conjunction with this one here. That's so that you can have a fast loader cart and a game cart plugged in at the same time. Your power switch. You have a fuse, it looks like, which is very interesting. Video and serial. And then two Atari / Genesis style type of control ports. And if you look here, it says controller port 1 and 2. And what's really funky about this is that some controllers want you to plug in a one-player game on controller port 2, and some of them want you to play a one-player game in controller port 1. I'm not sure why there's not very much, consistency when it comes to programming, but that is the case. I found that most games work in actually controller port 2, and as you can tell with my Atari XEGS controller, it plugs in just fine, and the button and the joystick works, and it works great. Also, one thing to note is the fact that there is a video port here. The whole reason why this computer was kind of desirable for the businessman was simply because he could operate the computer on his own private screen. It would be luggable, and he could go ahead and take this somewhere and make a presentation and have this plugged into a monitor that everyone else was looking at in the conference room while he was manning the machine up in front, which is pretty cool if you think about it. First up, we have Dragon's Lair. Yes, the Laserdisc game that plays and looks pretty much nothing like the game that you all know and love. Anyway, let's load. Actually, hold up. Gotta make sure it's on the right side of the disc here, because it's not. See, the front side you have Dragon's Lair, and the back side you have Escape from Singe's Castle, which is pretty cool that you get two games. I will say the first game is more, how do I say, it's easier. Everything's memorizable, there's not as much random stuff, whereas the other game, it's pretty much random in what direction things happen, at least from what I've seen so far, and that makes it a little harder. Also seems to be a little bit more picky as to your command inputs than the first game, and the first game is more enjoyable anyway. In case you're unaware, the C64 does take a while to load. There we go, there's the Electronic Arts logo of old. Still better than the new one. Again, pretty much everything was better back then. Dragon's Lair. Brought to you with none of the music and animations that made Dragon's Lair a decent game. Actually, this game is pretty good for what it is, which is basically a platforming game that's kind of like Dragon's Lair if it was made back in the NES days, or Atari days, or whatever. Yeah, they don't have Laserdisc videos, so it's just text, so we're going to skip this. Alright, let's get into the adventure. There he is. Mike's a big fan of Dragon Slayer. Oh yeah, he got a jump there. Wow, fastest death ever. Okay, there we go. I know what I'm doing past this, I swear. Okay, so the wind blows, and you gotta aim against the wind. If you get in the wrong position, it can be challenging. Like there. Damn it. We might be here for a little bit. Hope you guys like watching people die. I've noticed that generally the clouds seem to appear, or little faces, whatever, seem to appear on whichever side you're furthest away from, so that it has a better chance of pushing you off. So my little trick is to stay as centered in the platform as humanly possible so they don't catch you off guard. And we're doing better this time. No guarantees though. This game does not give guarantees. I'm gonna let the first platform go by because I always seem to die on that one. I don't know why. I've seen other YouTube reviews where people can make the first jump, but screw it. There goes the platform. I live! Isn't that swell? Alright. And this is not a game that you're going to do immediately well the first time. It's pretty much all memorization and all understanding what kind of inputs it's asking for, because sometimes an input will work for a certain animation and sometimes it's completely different for the same animation, or one that's extremely similar. Oh, what? Oh, that's right, I had to hit the fire button. It's been a little bit since I played this, so I apologize. We'll see if we can get Dirk through this. Oh, what? I hit the fire button. You guys heard it. Come on. Come on, you Casper-looking motherfucker. There we go. You have failed in your quest. Let's press 1 to carry on. There's old death animation, by the way. I know how to get past this, but it's very picky. It's still fun. But you might have to look up some how-tos on the internet, because not everything's apparently... Ah, shit. Not everything's really apparent as to what you should do. Let's try this again. This is like the ultimate fail compilation of Dragon's Lair. Hopefully I can get to the next screen at least. There are some pretty cool levels, this one including, actually. So I'm spending so much time talking. Okay, let's try this again. See, you think that, oh, it just jumped forward? Yeah, it doesn't work. You have to go to the right. Which makes no sense. Like, there's so many situations like that where, unless you played this like a whole bunch of times, you don't really know what to do. Then again, it's the exact reason why I didn't really like the original Dragon's Lair. I think I only like this one because the graphics are quaint. And because of that, I find it a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah. We're loading, we're loading. Let's try that again. Oh man, what am I supposed to do here? I forget. Should be called the most prepared video ever. There we go. You gotta wait one time. Oh, I missed the timing. Wow. Okay, one time. Now. Now. And jump. 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 There's the cue. Jump. There's the cue. Jump. You get the point. It's a pretty fun game, but you really do have to kind of practice. I'll show some footage without me really purposely talking to you guys of the other game on the reverse side of the disc, which I can't remember what it's called. Escape from Sidge's Castle. That one's pretty cool. It's a good value for your money, but let's move on. Oh, I died already. But I'm back. And here we have Pac-Man, which uses the typical load at quote asterisk quote comma 8 comma 1, unlike the other one, which instead of an asterisk had EA. And again, this is made by Thunder Mountain. These are the only two games I'm going to be showing you guys today, but I might go ahead and play these later in another review. They're really fun, especially if you like the Atari XEGS type of era. Obviously better than 2600 graphics, maybe probably not quite as good as NES, but it's a fun in-between. There we go, there's Pac-Man. Apparently the ghosts are not very smart. Here's some cherries. Oh boy. Woohoo, got the cherries. It's actually a really fun version. Obviously it's not arcade perfect or anything, but I like that it's a little easier. Especially when playing with an Atari 2600 joystick isn't necessarily 100% accurate. Dumbest Pac-Man move ever. But as you can see, you know, it's really good graphics. The ghosts have a more simplistic look to them. And they actually kind of look cuter for it, actually. I like them a lot. And remember, it's not how good you are at Pac-Man, it's how much fun you have playing Pac-Man. I believe Miss Pac-Man is also made for the Commodore 64, which is great. But personally, I actually like the original Pac-Man more. Fun fact, the original Pac-Man arcades are actually becoming a lot more rare, simply because everybody wanted Miss Pac-Man and converted them. Converted the original Pac-Man cabinets, and now if you want a regular Pac-Man cabinet, you're pretty much shit out of luck. Game over. No, but seriously, this is a fantastic system, and whether or not you get the bread box, regular Commodore 64, or you get this one, the Commodore 64 is actually a really good gaming console. You can go ahead and get what looks like a little itty bitty floppy drive for this thing, and it's actually an SD card reader that this thing directly communicates with, and you can put all the ROMs in the world on it and you can run it just fine. Same speed and everything. The only thing that you miss is the old groaning floppy drive. But if you do find one of these with a busted up floppy drive, you can go ahead and use a serial port in the back to plug it in, which is great. One downside to this particular machine, the Executive, the SX-64, is that if you want to use cassettes, it is unable to work with any type of cassette drive. But frankly, that's actually pretty much a good thing. The only reason why the cassette drive existed in the first place is because it was cheaper, and now that these floppies are dirt cheap, well, cassettes took like 15 minutes to load. It was a heap of crap. You don't really want it anyway. And frankly, I like that this has a built-in monitor. The monitor quality is phenomenal. It produces really good color. It's probably hard to tell from this video, but I would really recommend one. These things can go upwards to $500 to $1,000 depending on condition. I got this one for a lot cheaper than that. Fully working. Broken ones go for a couple $100. This one's fully functional though, and I will never be getting rid of it. And you can take that to the grave, because seriously, I will never get rid of this machine. Even if I don't play it every single day, it's just one of those things that you just will never come by again. And if you have the extra cash, or if you find one for the uber cheap, I definitely recommend picking one up. This is the SX-64, the computer that Commodore messed up so badly and yet deserves such a better life than this. On to more Pac-Man.